I'm feeling a slow fade out, actually, Jack. There was a bit of a rapid one this morning, but they were, it was the first time. It was a bit rapid. I like a slow
Come
one.
on, mate, sort it out.
No, not a slow one, a perfectly timed one.
There it is. That's it. That'll do nicely.
Everyone good?
Here we go. Hey there, everyone. This is Adam here with the Hear2Listen podcast. I'm here with Jack.
Hello.
Leon.
Yo.
Jack was just sorting out the podcast machine there. He wasn't close enough to the mic. Nice one. Good save, Jack. Nice one.
Diving across the room.
We continue with our episodes. Max isn't here. Shout out to Max. We do miss you, mate. But I know you're locked into a lot of editing at the moment. And for the viewers out there, we just did a sort of emergency podcast this morning. Not an emergency really, but just like a rapid turnover one, because we're doing program stuff at the moment. We wanted to get a couple of young people in on the pod. So bless him, he's doing that. Thank you very much, Max. Nice one. So we decided to continue anyway with our guest today, Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hello.
Emily is, I feel like it's one of those things that I might start by saying you and I go way back, which sounds really odd given our age difference. But when I worked on the last project, it was a project called Youth Action. It was a project that was designed to support young people into volunteering. And one of the joys actually of me working for that is to see young people come in that, had maybe a few mental health issues, let's say sort of anxiety or cautious or lack of self-belief or all those sort of challenging things that some young people face, and they saw volunteering as an opportunity to start and get out of that process and maybe learn some things and develop themselves and evolve. And I see you as one of those people, Emily, that came in, with your own kind of issues, let's say. You talked about that with me. I don't necessarily think that you can bring it up on the podcast unless you want to. But yeah, some stuff around like some difficulties that you had, and it seemed to me that you saw the volunteering as like an opportunity to, get out of yourself somewhat. So I'm hoping we can talk about that. I'm hoping we can talk about your experience with the NCS, and I'd love to hear about like what you're doing at the moment and stuff around sort of young people. So just as a starting point, let's go back to the Youth Action. What do you think was your mindset back then with wanting to get into volunteering, but also someone that had a few fears as well?
Yeah. I was about 15, and basically my whole life I had anxiety, social anxiety, which is where you have sort of a fear of like what other people think. You have a fear of like people judging you and like how people see you. And that affected me to the point where I struggled to make friends, and I spent a lot of time off of school because of it. And it wasn't a very well known like disorder, so there wasn't a lot that people. Well, I think it was well known, but I think it's difficult to be diagnosed. And so when I said, "Oh, I feel really anxious," some people would say, "Oh yeah, that's oh yeah, exams, yeah, exams are tough." But yeah, it was a specific type of anxiety, and it was quite difficult for people to understand, because people were like, "Well, how can you be anxious around people?" So yeah, it was quite difficult. And volunteering was suggested to me by my counsellor, who said, you want to start to slowly build up your sort of like, you want to slowly get into social situations more and more, and start really small. So I thought volunteering would be a good way to do that. As often it would like be a one-day thing, where you'd go to an event or something like that, and it would just be like serving drinks or taking care of children, and it'd be a bit like it's relaxed. So I thought that'd be a good way to sort of start things off.
It sounded like your counsellor worked quite hard with you to like minimise the fears, almost like laying it out. Oh, it's only this, it's only like one day, because as someone that had a bit of anxiety in my past, the instinct to catastrophise and think, oh no, oh God, volunteering, blimey, no, thank you, leave that. But then actually it sounded like she kind of broke it down for you, maybe to be a bit more manageable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, if it was sort of a regular thing where it was like a job or something, I'd be like, no way. But volunteering, a lot of the time, it'd be places that were a little bit more far away from where I live, so it'd be no one I know. So yeah, it would be a bit easier, but it was still difficult. It was really difficult to sort of say, well, if I do this, what if something happens? I still did think that, but at least I had sort of a springboard, and that would sort of like go on to bigger things.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really good.
Nice. So, Emily, where did you start doing volunteering? Like, what was your first few things like you was able to go and do?
Okay, so the first time I ever volunteered was in a charity shop. I didn't think it would be like a regular thing, because I'd seen like on the so when I worked with Adam, he showed me a list of like volunteering opportunities, and a lot of them were events. And I thought, oh, I'll work in a charity shop. That'll be good. So I went to a charity shop, like a hospice charity shop.
Nice.
And I filled in a form and everything, and yeah, and I went in, and I was like, oh, okay, it's not bad. Yeah, and I said I'd go for 3 hours. And then they'd say, "Oh, you're only going for 3 hours," and I was like, "Yeah." And they were like,
Only?
"Well, this is yeah." They were like, "Oh, yeah, this is normally it's a regular thing, but 3 hours is fine as well." But so yeah, it was alright. It was good to have the opportunity, and I felt like really satisfied afterwards because I know I'd like push myself. So I thought, yeah, this is the right thing to do.
Did you feel like volunteering was like doubly good because you're not only doing something that's going to help other people, which in turn will make you feel good about yourself, but you're also doing it to combat your anxiety as well, like to push you out. So it's almost like anyone with anxiety that does struggle, volunteering does seem like a really good way just to get out there, doesn't it? Like, and do something for other people and for yourself. It's a perfect combination.
Definitely. And I didn't think about it like that at first, I'm not gonna lie. I did kind of think of it a bit more selfishly.
In terms of like what you need to do to help yourself, which is perfectly
yeah, like I'm
fine.
like, yeah, this is what I need to do. Yeah. Yeah.
So as you was volunteering, did you sort of how did you notice the difference? Did you notice it sort of as you was doing it, or did you like wait till you get home and then have to reflect on it, or how did you feel as you was doing it? Did you feel like a release? Was like the anxiety like relieving? Was it like relieving your anxiety, I'd say maybe? Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, it was, because when it was someone with social anxiety, well, for me anyway, when I'm in a situation which is like really challenging, so that would be like if there's either like lots of people or people who I don't know as well, or something like that. It like I get like my heart beats really fast, and I get like really shaky, and yeah, and they start like my thoughts start racing, and so that happened. But because there was like 3 people, and we were all doing something and we were all focused on something, it felt a bit like, okay, well, I know what I'm doing. I'm not just standing here with people. It's like I have a purpose here. So it wasn't that challenging. It wasn't like overwhelming like it would be like in a school situation. So that helped me, I think.
And everyone that goes to these events will be people that are there to help others. So genuinely, you're going to be meeting people that are
Like-minded,
and they're not. Oh, I guess not like-minded because you were there for a different reason. But they were like, at least they know you're going to be like nice people, and they're going to be comforting, and they're probably going to be like, they're going to warm to you a little bit. Whereas if you go into like a random situation, like you say, school can be a savage place. So like going from school to like a volunteering place, it's a completely different environment. I bet it's a lot easier.
definitely. Yeah.
And I suppose
No, yeah, volunteering, it's kind of like I know why I'm there, so it feels a bit like better. Whereas school, it's kind of like I didn't really feel like I knew why I was there, because we'd go to lessons and we'd sort of like sit at a desk and write things down, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, I don't really understand why we're learning maths or why we're learning English, and I can't concentrate on it anyway because there's loads of people around me. So yeah, so that didn't like. It sort of felt like it wasn't for me, and school isn't sort of for everyone.
It's not.
It's not like
definitely not.
Nah, definitely not. We agree with you on that.
It's not a one size fits all. So in school, I thought, well, why can't I concentrate? It must be my fault. But having something like tailored to my situation made me feel a lot better. Yeah.
I was thinking with having anxiety at school, let's say, and the thinking of why am I doing this? I can't concentrate. I'm aware that if you've got social anxiety, the likelihood of you rebelling and playing up in lessons is
Very
nil.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just sounds like you've got like the other, because I'm more like you, Emily, say, but I used to see a lot of the kids at school as like the naughty kids, the ones that were just like pinging off the walls. I'm looking at Jack. I bet you.
Leave me alone, Adam. Leave me alone.
But I was also fascinated by when you were talking about anxiety and stuff like that, and I was like super relating to it. And I was looking at these guys. So I don't think you relate to like so. I think you're quite social guys, aren't you? I don't. It must be weird hearing how people struggle to like even like get out the door to go and meet. I can see you flying out the door going, I'm going to meet such and such today. It's going to be awesome. You know, that kind of thing.
But you know what's weird? Yeah, I actually never really experienced that sort of anxiety until like recent years. But the first time I actually sort of experienced it, I was going to a festival. Like I was going to a festival and I started feeling really anxious about going to this festival, and I was thinking like, this is weird, isn't it? And like, I was getting up in the morning and I started to think like, I don't even want to go. But then I started thinking like, why am I being like this? And then I started thinking, like, Jack, you just got to put yourself in that situation. Once you're there, you'll enjoy it. And once I was there, I had a great time. But that's the first time that I actually felt a little bit anxious about going somewhere.
See, mine. So when I first moved to Biggleswade, so I'd lived in Letchworth for like my whole life. Moved to Biggleswade and it was the summertime, and I literally didn't see anyone the whole summer because my moped license ran out, so I didn't reinsure it because I was getting driving lessons, so I couldn't ask for insurance on my bike and get driving lessons as well from the parents. I had to sort of choose like to get driving lessons
Or be on your own.
Yeah. So, so I spent the whole summer where I didn't go out and I didn't see like my friends or anything like that. And I went to the hairdressers, right, and it took me about 3 weeks just to go there. And, I don't really suffer from social anxiety, so I might. But I remember going there and I was sweating so much because I didn't want to go there, and I felt so nervous for no reason that I got up and my back honestly was drenched, and I don't
Was this while you was in the chair?
Yeah, when I was in the chair.
This guy must be like, he must be real scared of me gonna cut him. He's sweating.
And I remember getting up and I just felt like, nah, everyone's looking at me, I need to just get out of it. But then like, I went back 2 weeks later and I just didn't even have any of that, so it was just so weird. But I don't really suffer, luckily. Touch wood.
That's fascinating, because I would never have thought that, but you have, and you have.
Yeah.
You know, we all sound like we get some social anxiety at some points. I was also thinking that like it was almost a bit of a shock to the system for you two guys, because it'd been so unfamiliar, and I was thinking like anxious people would be like, yeah, I know what this is.
yeah, it is
kind of coast it.
It's weird because you come up with thoughts that are so out there and they literally never going to happen, but you're thinking they're going to happen. I wouldn't call it like paranoia, but it almost comes to me like paranoia. Like I'm so paranoid what's going on or what's going to happen that I'm thinking of situations that are never going to occur.
Does this sound familiar, Emily?
Yeah, definitely.
But does it sound a little bit more comforting to know that like everyone gets it a little bit?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 'cause I definitely, I have had it multiple times. But I get it around different situations. It's not always social anxiety. It can be like, I don't know, what other anxiety is there?
Speaking in front of crowds, you do a lot of that with recruitment.
Do you know what
we don't get
anxiety about you get anxiety about tests and
my driving
like
test.
bills and things like that.
Yeah, see, bills not so much, but my driving test, oh my God, I was sweating. And what the worst thing was, my mum she drove me to the car park, and in the car park, she managed to lose the fob to get out of the paid car park. And this is where I was meant to be taking the guy from the test centre. And I remember like having this massive argument with my mum about this yellow coin that we'd lost in the seat, and then it just ruined my test. And yeah, I did fail. Blame my mum.
It was just over a coin.
No. It was just the coin that I needed for the test.
Oh.
It was a logistical issue.
It was either get the coin or you don't take the test.
But I do feel in our job, like Jack, like we don't get a choice to have social anxiety. But at the same time, because we're pushed in that direction where we're socially, like we walk into a canteen and we know they all don't want to speak to us.
Yeah.
But what do? We speak to every single person in there.
Yeah, you can see the table in the background. Every single one on that table looks at you. And as soon as you approach, they act like you don't exist. And it's just like, thank you. Yeah, but then again, talking about that, there's young people sitting there like you would have been, Emily. 2 random guys have just approached you and started talking. You are freaking out. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we get people like that wouldn't even talk. They wouldn't even look at us while we were talking to them. Somehow, either me, Leon, or Chris convinced them to come on the program. And after week 2 or week 1,
yeah. So like one of them literally couldn't look another adult in the eye and have a conversation. And
Wow.
halfway through week 1, we were like, there's loads of singing going on like across the across the site. I think it was actually a playground, but yeah, so across the site, and we were like, who's that? Like, but anyway, so it was bedtime. So me and Chris were walking over. I think Jack, was you with us?
I think I was behind you.
Yeah, he's behind us, and it was walking over, and we were like, no way is it them 2 girls? And it was these 2 girls had made a group of met another 3 girls, and there was like 5 of them all singing to like.
Oh.
And we were just
cool.
like, we're literally, because we knew sort of what they were like before they even come on, we were all like, oh my God, that's so nice. And they were like, you coming over to tell us off? And we were like, nah.
That's what I mean. Then you see those girls walking around, you're talking to people, or when you're talking to them, they're actually looking at you and they're smiling, they're having a good conversation. It just, it is really good.
Well, I think
that
it'd
is really cool.
be nice to kind of segue into your experience on the NCS. These guys talking about recruitment. At some point, you would have been approached by maybe one of these guys or one of our recruitment team to get on the NCS. Do you remember that day?
It was in my school, so it was in an assembly.
What school?
What school?
I do remember that.
What school was it?
Yeah. Sorry?
What school was it?
Queensbury.
Oh,
Good old Queen.
Yeah.
love Queensbury.
How many years ago did you do it?
So I first did it in 2016, and then I did it in 2017 and 18, I think.
You didn't go to Cornwall by any chance, did you?
No, I went to Wales.
You went
Colomendy.
Colomendy.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. I think, I'm not sure if it was 16 or 17, but then I went 2 years after that as a team assistant. So yeah, that was really challenging.
The NCS or?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a participant, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
tell us about it.
Because it was sort of, I think it was more challenging than school, because you were around people 24/7. So yeah, it was really challenging for me. But I went into it with the mindset of, okay, well, if I can do this and like make it 24 hours for 3 weeks, I can do anything.
Yeah. Nice.
So it was really challenging. But
So Emily, how did you feel? Sorry, how did you feel on the Sunday before the Monday that you was leaving? Because I feel like that's always, well, I don't know, but I'd say if I was a young person, I can imagine that being the most like anxious time, maybe.
Yeah, I was like sweating. I was just like non-stop thinking about it. But I also tried to like take my mind off it. So I watched TV and I spoke to my family and things like that. And I just tried to sort of not think about it.
Did you come with friends or did you come on your own?
Came on my own.
Oh my God.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
You didn't get forced to do it?
No.
No, you've done that off your own, but that is actually incredible. Like,
Yeah.
I'd like to say I'm a social butterfly, all right? In school, I used to love talking to everyone. there is no way you would have got me going on NCS on my own. No way. Not because now, like if I look back at it now, then I would love to have gone on my own because you make so many friends. But being the person who I was back when I was 16, 17, Leon knew me as my team leader. There is no way you'd have caught me on that program on my own. Literally, oh my God. Standing in that car park looking at everyone like in their groups and that freaked me out.
Other than some of the distraction techniques that you might have done on the Sunday, Emily, what do you think was the thing that got you up in that morning and off to the bus, I guess, or the coach?
Coaches.
I was wondering what your mind is saying. What kind of self-talk are you giving yourself to get you out of that door?
I was like, to be honest, I was like, you know what? if I want a job and if I want to like actually have a life, then this is what I'm going to have to do. That's what I thought. I've got to challenge myself.
This is exactly what we tell young people. So we say they'll say, now I have. Sometimes they might actually say to us, I've got social anxiety, I can't do that. And we actually generally throw it back to them like, hang on a minute, like this will actually help. Like the social skills and stuff like that we can give you through this program might actually be able to help you get a job in the future. And I know sometimes they are throwing it at us just because they want to say no and they're not ready to say because their friends are saying no or something like that. But we do throw it back at them, so hopefully that doesn't come across. Yeah,
and can you Can you confirm that? Do you think the NCS gave you more confidence in social situations?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because like when I first went to the last time I went, it was completely different. Because going into it a second time as a team assistant, like I actually had responsibility, so it was like, okay, I'm gonna need to like speak in front of young people now. I'm gonna need to help them with things, and like the focus isn't gonna be on me. So yeah, I think in a way that helped me as well. Just having a focus. But yeah, I think every time I went, I kind of thought, well, I've done this before, so I can do it. So it's got easier.
Something that was familiar about it, I guess, because you at least knew the format of the program, although it must have been, I imagine it going by in quite a blur, like your initial experience as a participant. You can pick out little bits, but I imagine it, you're kind of along for the ride, so to speak. But whereas assistant team leader, you can kind of take stock a little bit and observe a little bit and go, oh yeah, I remember what we're doing now. We did this back in, that kind of thing. So there's a familiarity to it that might have helped the process.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So you didn't have that added anxiety of not knowing what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any? Did you have any leading into it?
Yeah.
Okay, you did. Okay.
A lot.
Are we talking the Sunday night like self-talk like you went through before?
Yeah. A lot.
Do you think being a team assistant, gave you the confidence as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I definitely found that being a leader, like you say, you're not as involved as a young person, but just being around those people, and like you say, you might have been helping people like yourself that was on the program before. Maybe you see some people that are struggling, and that definitely boosts your confidence if you did do that.
Definitely. I think confidence is sort of a two-way thing, though. It's kind of a part of it is experience, like you have to put yourself in the situations, and another part is like inside you need that sort of belief. And when I was first on NCS, I didn't have that belief, and like all through NCS, I had this negative self-talk, which did get easier over time, but the self-talk was still there. So I'd had the experience, but I hadn't learned how to change my thoughts. So yeah, I was still going like, oh, this is awful. But I think part of that is sort of you have to sit down and really sort of think, how is another way I could see this? Can I see this in a different way? And it's a habit. It's not like a one-time thing. it's you got to keep practicing positive thoughts.
And it seems like the only way that you can practice it is by putting yourself in these anxiety-provoking situations. There's an irony.
Yeah. Yeah.
I often see that as kind of the burden. Sorry, I jumped in there. I see it. I'll just finish off in a sec. I see that as a burden of an anxious person. You know that the solution is in the things that scare you. It's a real bummer. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh God, I've got to do all this scary stuff, but I kind of know that I'm going to get loads out of it and increase your resilience as a result. Would you feel that's the case?
Literally, yeah. Because you need like some positive self-talk to be able to get into that situation in the first place. So if your negative self-talk had taken over, then like the second time you went on NCS, it would be like, oh no, I'm not gonna go because it was a difficult situation last time. Whereas if you wanna change that to positive self-talk, then it becomes it was difficult, but it's okay, I can handle it.
Yeah.
So it can go two ways. So you need to be careful how you tell yourself things.
So,
like when you go into a difficult situation.
Have you like made a conscious choice to like promote positive thoughts, in your head, sort of thing? So like when you're consciously thinking and you're having negative thoughts, do you like sit there and think, no, I need to change this up now. I need to start thinking positively. Like, how can I turn this positive?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. And yeah, so it obviously, like, I still have negative self-talk, but it's never going to completely go away. But you can, it's like any habit, like you continuously work on it. And sometimes you're going to have better days than others. Yeah,
definitely. Everyone definitely has negative thoughts about themselves. Can't stop it.
Yeah.
I'm aware that you came back for even more as I think a wave runner. Was that one of the roles that you did in a later year?
Oh yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, and you were on that as well.
I was briefly. We're not going to talk about that though.
How's your anxiety on?
Oh mate, talk about anxious day. I was not in my right element there, but yeah, just it's probably worth saying a little bit about it. So in the early days, I was going to do the wave leader role, and bless her, Dawn, boss lady, she thought it'd be really good for me, but I think in the back of her mind she was wondering whether I'd be suited to it. Actually turns out I wasn't suited to it, and I did a bit of beating myself up about it, the failure, the like going there and working with Gwen and letting her down. There was a lot of stuff for me to manage as an anxious person, similar to you, Emily, and having to go through kind of my process after that. And actually the biggest realization was I'm just not suited to that kind of stuff. I'm not suited to leading. I'm not suited to like being in a room where absolutely tons of stuff's going on at the time. I'm not good with loads of problems presenting themselves on a list immediately for me to deal with at that time, which is, and credit to like our current wave leaders that seem to be doing that. And they clearly are more suited to that role and therefore do very well, I think, in what they have to do. So I do remember fondly the other aspect of that was seeing you there, Emily, someone that I'd worked with before, supported with the previous project, seeing you go through the NCS and finding out that you were back for more with doing another role as well. So yeah, so what sort of things were you required to do on the day?
So I would like go to different teams and sort of like check how they're doing, like check if everything's okay, see if they're on schedule, like give them any messages from like yourself and Gwen, and like if they had any messages, I'd go back to you and Gwen and say, so this team's like having an issue with this activity, or that kind of thing. So yeah, I thought it was pretty good because it was like a lot of moving around, and at the time I had Samsung Health and I was trying to get my steps up. So yeah, that was good.
And yeah, wave runner, I imagine running around, you would have got plenty of steps up as well. How was it for you sort of being a bit more of a satellite, because obviously as a participant you're in it, as an assistant team leader you're kind of in it a little bit, support, go between, and then that role I see as, you're floating around, you're seeing a lot of different teams. What was it like seeing it from sort of higher up looking down?
It was pretty cool. I didn't have like as much responsibility as you and Gwen. It was a bit more. It was like a messenger. But yeah. yeah, it was pretty good.
There's a phrase used occasionally: if you spot it, you've got it. And you, as an anxious person, did you spot any of that in any of the young people that you observed?
Yes, I did. So on the first year of me being a team assistant, I came across a young lady who was depressed, and she was having quite a difficult time of it because I think, along with being depressed, I think um, she rigged sort of the system against her because she'd like consciously think negative thoughts and then think more negative thoughts on top of that, so she kind of made it worse for herself. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of like, she started speaking to me, and she was like, I feel comfortable with you and I feel like you understand what I'm going through. So she wouldn't talk to anyone else, but she started talking to me, and I started to realise as well, other people are going through really difficult things. But a lot of the time you don't see them because they don't talk to anyone. But on NCS, it's like, everyone goes there, so you see them because they're taking part in the activities and they're not at home playing games. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I saw a few people like that, and it must have been really challenging for them to get out into a thing like NCS. So yeah.
What was it like for you, like helping them out?
It was really difficult because I think you can only do so much with people. You can't solve all their problems, and at first I went into it thinking I could solve all of her problems, and I thought, well, okay, I can talk to her about it and sort of like analyze how she thinks, and then she can sort of slowly get into situations. And I thought, okay, I can do that, but like I could do myself. But there's also another part which is like your choice. Like you need to consciously want to get better,
take responsibility.
And yeah, individual responsibility. And she didn't want to get better. Yeah, she'd write poetry, and it was really cool because she did a lot of poetry about her issues, and her poetry was like very negative, and it kind of made me feel a bit depressed.
Right. Okay. So arguably a form of self-expression, but it sounds like sort of wallowing in the mire, if you like. Here's a person that.
And there's a difference between those two things.
Yes. Yeah. I'd see you two as quite different in that. You've got a shared history and maybe some issues shared, but you've kind of got a bit more solution-focused stuff. You've learned sort of tactics to get around your own, whereas maybe. You've implied that there's a desire not to, but it could be argued that she just hasn't sort of found the way quite yet. And it sounded like you did all that you could with her, but maybe left that conversation kind of thinking, okay, she might need to find her own way with that, which is all you can do sometimes.
And after the 3 weeks, would you say she would have been like better within herself, or the same, or after having someone to speak to, because she might not have had anyone to speak to before? I'm not sure.
She said that having someone to go to was really good for her. She really liked having someone to confide in, which is really good. But I didn't want her to depend on me. That was the only issue. Like, she had to find her own way. And she did to an extent. At the end of the 3 weeks, there was a talent competition. And she said, like, right at the end, she was like, I want to sing. And there was like 5 minutes left until like the actual thing was started and all the applications had been sent in. But she was like, I want to sing. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. You should go and sing. And so I told my team leader, and he was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so he went up and he said, my team member wants to sing, and they were like, okay, we don't have time for that. But my team leader said, okay, I've got another idea, and and we went back to the team room, and she sang in front of everyone. So yeah, and she was like really anxious to do that. She was like really scared about that, but she did it.
Sounds like she pushed herself.
Really yeah.
I find like with us, I feel like some of our job satisfaction, and like when we go into schools and we're trying to convince people to go on the program, we think like in the back of our minds, I don't know about you, Jack, but we're literally thinking this program could actually help you out, and like it could help you push yourself a little bit and stuff. Like, so it's nice to hear those stories, because like especially this summer, we ain't really getting a dose of motivation this year, whereas normally like at the minute we're out, we're seeing all the young people sort of bet themselves and do good stuff and work with charities and stuff like that. But that does help us hearing those stories, I feel.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there's so many different ways in which people push themselves on that program.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's with the activities that are set out, and sometimes that inspires people to do other things that are good for them. So sometimes it might not even be the activities that get them out. Sometimes it's staying with people and other people inspire them. Sometimes it's like after the program they do something.
Yeah.
Could be cooking for themselves. It could be when we're trying to get them to ring charities.
Could be just turning up.
Yeah, just turning up on day
Literally.
one. Yeah, just getting on that coach and spending a night with people they've never met before.
Emily, you mentioned about what people carry with them from the NCS. I'd like to know like what you've done as a participant, a wave runner. What have you carried from your NCS experience into the more present?
Basically, I've learned a lot of responsibility, and I've matured a bit. And I was very self-absorbed, because that's kind of a part of having social anxiety. You get really self-absorbed,
Definitely.
and you worry a lot about your own issues. So yeah, having something else to focus on was really good. And there were like loads of other young people there, so it felt like it felt like there was a lot of responsibility for everyone. So yeah, and I think when you're young, you don't have a lot of responsibility, like in the education system, and even when you have a job, like you might be like a cashier or something, it's not much responsibility, but being a team assistant or a leader is like completely different.
It's almost like introducing you to the idea of taking responsibility in a way. It sounds like what the NCS does a lot of, here's a task, do it, like essentially, in your teams, and then each person will fit into that task as best they can with their own challenges, let's say. To bring it a bit more present, Emily, I understand that you've been involved with other projects since the NCS, is that right?
So I've been part of this organisation called Youth Network for about a year and a half now, nearly 2 years, and we've been helping young people to sort of like we've been mentoring them, training them, helping them with social action projects. So it's kind of like it's not NCS, it's like a different thing. It's like a different kind of setup, and we have sort of like individual events, like about different things. Sometimes it's about mental health, sometimes it's about business. Yeah, and so we have a webinar coming up, and we're going to be talking about what we're going to do, what young people can do after A-levels, because a lot of the time people think, I do A-levels and then I go to uni. And that's kind of like the default thing, because we have lessons where we literally put together an application for uni. So it kind of feels like that's what you're meant to do. But yeah, it doesn't have to be, we don't have to go that route. And
sorry, Emily, is that for like sort of any young people, or just like sort of young people that are involved in your organisation?
Sorry? Oh yeah, it's for anyone.
It's for anyone. Don't know if you want to just give a shout out to who that is again, just so then any young people listening, they can go ahead and find it.
Yeah, we'll include a link, Emily, but have you got something that you can direct us towards now? Or is it
so the Instagram page for Youth Network is Youth Network _Luton. So yeah, we do all sorts of events and webinars and things like that. It's mostly been webinars because of coronavirus recently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's really good. I've learned a lot from other people, other young people who have sort of led it, and we have sometimes get experts on. So yeah, it's really good.
Nice, and I'm aware. I've been aware of it the last year. I don't know how long it's been going, but I love it when kind of these new initiatives spring up, and they seem that there's this. You mentioned about kind of support with social action and meeting up with professionals, things like that. It's something very much that the NCS does, and there's a part of me that bristles a little bit when I hear that other people are doing it, but I can also see how attractive that is, because it is something that really works, about social action, about taking responsibility, about challenging yourself, about, the initial I don't know if I want to do a thing, and then you're doing it. And I was interested in what you said earlier, Leon, about like the element of being forced into a situation. Let's use the example of like presentations or speaking at schools or whatever. That's that element of like, I don't actually have a choice. You do, really, you do. But I mean, you feel like you don't have a choice. Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with our boss. Like, so when I first started on Hear2Listen, I was just doing phone calls, and then like it started to get busier and busier. We started to get more numbers, and then there was like a more important role coming up, and then the Dawn was just like, so obviously you can do the phones, so you're going to have to do assembly on your own in front of like 400 people. And I remember just looking her in the eyes and like, yeah. Yeah, I can do that. But yeah, I think it's like just putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations only betters you as a person. And I was quite lucky I was able to just do that and throw myself into it. So like even now, so like I say, I haven't done an assembly since February, March, actually, beginning of March, just before lockdown. When we go back in September, we're going to be nervous because like we haven't done it for like 6-7 months, but it happens every year. Then like by the end of the recruitment season, assemblies are nothing. They're just so easy to do. You to go in and do it, get your job
It's
done.
actually a good day at the end of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Like we have, like some of our best days probably at work. We have doing assemblies and getting it.
I got a good story for anyone that gets social anxiety or anxiety at anything, and you just think of the worst possible outcome. I had the worst possible outcome that actually happened.
Oh, here we go.
And it didn't actually change my life. So, so I was meant to be doing I was doing a Hear2Listen spring graduation. Only about 150 maximum, maybe 200.
Yeah.
And I was the host, so getting nervous, I'm feeling it. I was like, oh my God, this is actually making me nervous. I was in my suit and that. And it's time, I'm behind the curtain, I'm ready to walk out, people introducing me, and then the lights come on. I walk out, I walk straight up to the podium, and I say the same line 5 times. because I tried to say the line, forgot what was next. Went to start again, started from the 3rd line, so I'd missed one.
Hello and welcome, hello and welcome, hello.
I went, in fact, I'll try and remember, what did I say? I was like,
traumatized now. It's re-trauma.
And welcome to
therapy.
Our spring graduation. And welcome to our spring graduation 2017. And then I just started laughing, I think, and I was like, I'm not.
I did shout you out this time. I was like, go on, Jack.
No, it's coming. Leon saved me. He was like, go on, Jack, go on. Or shout his hat, and I was like, yeah. And then I delivered it, and I'd done it, and I finished my part, and I'd done what I needed to do. And do you know what? I was embarrassed. I wanted to melt into a puddle and just die. But at the end of it, I had everyone in that crowd. They probably got a good chuckle out of it. If I was in the crowd, I would have got a good chuckle out of that. But at the end of it, they all come up to me and went, do you know what, Jack, you smashed it. Well done. Shook my hand and said how good I was. So that was exactly what I did not want to happen. The whole time I was going there, I was like, what if I fluff my lines? What if I forget it? What if I say the wrong thing? I've done all of it. And it weren't that bad. I mean, it was for like 2 minutes while my face was bright red and I was getting burnt by the lights. But other than that, it was actually all right.
See, I don't think mine's as bad, but at work. So me and Chris had the assembly at Sammy Whitbread. It's one of our biggest schools that we go into. So there's about 400 plus students. We had the NCS Trust there. There's two NCS guys coming up. pretty tall, like they know what they're doing, you know, all about NCS. I was fairly new. I think this is my first year in working. If we get there, the presentation doesn't work. We've got nothing. We've got 400 kids in front of us. I've got kids sitting behind me, and me and Chris just had to just talk to them as loud as possible. Plus, we've got like these two NCS guys observing us, so they're writing down, and they've got a little notepad, so like they're writing down good points and bad points. And me and Chris, yeah, that was horrible, but got to do it, mate.
You do. You've got to throw yourself into it. And I take some advice from Dr. Pepper. What's the worst that could happen? You know what I mean?
But I also think, Jack, that there was a bit of a gift in like your experience where people coming up to you saying you smashed it. Okay, you might think that's not necessarily the case because you might be more critical of yourself. However, I think you acted a bit of a proxy for all those people sitting in the audience that would rather not do something like that. Like whenever I see someone struggle a little bit as they're talking, my instinct is to go, "Go on, man, come on." Your instinct isn't to go, "Oh man, I can't believe you're making me sit through this." You know, it's like we've seen it on people that come up for the graduation, have a bit of a talk and struggle with their words at first, and every part of me is going, "Go on, man, come on, go. It's nothing but enthusiasm and encouragement, I think, and I think people appreciate it because of how it taps into their stuff around like their fears. Nobody really likes public speaking early on, unless you get used to it, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think what you did was kind of offer people something a bit.
And
of that as well.
everyone pretty much knew you personally there. So you'd met everyone, you'd worked with them.
Yeah, we've worked on the programme, all that.
And like, because you got quite a warm energy, there would have been no one there that would have wanted you to feel like you done bad, which you didn't. So.
Right, well, that's what I mean. I had a good crowd, but then you got Max. He done a parents' question answers, and he was talking he weren't even talking quietly, but they thought it was, and someone started heckling him in the parents' question
can't hear
you. Yeah, go on, mate. I can't hear you. Speak up a little bit.
Get closer to the mic, Max. That's for you, Max. I know you're listening.
But that's what I mean. Like, I did have such a good crowd, and to be honest, it would have been a completely different story if someone did start shouting some stuff. Like, it would have crushed me. I probably would have flipped out and walked out or something, but I had a good energy.
I think you'd have had it.
What, come back with some snarky comment?
Nah, I don't even think that. You'd have just carried on.
I think there's a phrase a phrase comes up in like public speaking training that your audience wants you to succeed. That's something that I've always used. They want you to like give a presentation, kind of get the information across. And, they're not there to kind of make you fail, unless you're a comedian. Obviously, there's a lot of industry and heckling there, but not necessarily in the other stuff. But I'm aware we're kind of wrapping up a little bit here, Emily. I did want to tap into a little bit of present stuff as well around the pandemic that we're in at the moment. I'd be curious to know what it's like for you as a young person at the moment, with uncertainty, with any educational uncertainty, or even some awareness because of your contacts about how young people are coping at the moment.
Yeah, young people in general. I think it's a complicated one because I think young people have a lot of experience on social media, and I think for us it's kind of like we're kind of doing what we'd do when we get home from school anyway. So it kind of feels like a natural thing. We naturally automatically go onto like the Skype and Zoom and everything. So for me, it's kind of been seamless because of that. The only exception is obviously because we can't like go out. That's the only thing. And young people tend to want to go out more than older people. So that's tough. It's like, what do you do in that situation? And I think a lot of people are missing out on like education, social skills, missing out on a lot of that in their phase of development. It's like young people like develop until they're like 25 or something. I think it's when our brains stop developing. So I think it's quite tough for that. But I guess it depends if you're an introvert or an extrovert. I think that does seem to be
the dividing line, doesn't it? Like, there's certainly an assumption in a lot of my friendships around, we got this, no problem. I've done social isolation for most of my life. I kind of know how to do this, but and you sound like you're speaking from that kind of frame of reference. But I do wonder how the opposite end of the scale are doing with the I think of some of the young people that we work with that couldn't wait to go home and get out as quickly as possible, mostly because like there was a bit of trauma in the house and they just don't want to be around it. I'm more concerned about those. But have you got any sense of that in your social groups?
I don't know anyone who's going through a really tough time in my social group, but in my sister's social group, she has a friend who is dealing with a lot of crap at the moment. So I couldn't even imagine what she's going through. School is like an escape for her, so that. But yeah, now that we can like go out into like support bubbles, hopefully she'll take advantage of that. And with this NCS thing, this is really good. Like you guys are doing like an alternative to NCS. So hopefully,
keep doing good.
Hopefully she'll go on that.
Yeah, get her on.
Yeah, and that will get her away.
Get her to give us a call.
Maybe
it's just little things that she's got to like try and do.
Yeah, maybe we can do some contact details after we finish recording, Emily. I mean, strike where the iron's hot and all that. If we've got a potential participant that we can get on the program, we've got the recruitment team in the room. Let's do that after we stop recording.
But I think also the thing you said about like when you were public speaking is like what I love is that you were laughing about it, and I think that's the biggest thing. You got to laugh about these things, and you just gotta see the positive side of it.
Definitely.
Which is the biggest thing.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, for anyone out there that is wondering why I was laughing, my default emotion when I get nervous, scared, or awkward is to laugh.
Or smile, yeah.
Or smile. Yeah. Like, I can't help it. Like, you might look like I'm having a great time, but I might be like actually crapping my pants. Like, yeah, this is going badly. Like, that is just my natural reaction, which isn't a bad thing because it gets me out of a lot of situations.
I think what our boss always says, Chris. I almost called you Chris. I'm sorry, mate. So yeah, our boss Chris always says, if you're doing speaking and you're smiling, 90% of the audience are feeling that smile, and then like 10% of that audience may even crack a smile as well, or something like that, innit?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
and you do get it, didn't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Unless it's like Monday morning doing assembly, no one wants to be there. You do a big smile and you just get people looking at the ground. You're like, nice.
I feel like in our assemblies we don't give them a choice. There's always some smiles in there.
Yeah.
We normally we try our best to come with such positive energy, and it just
kill him with kindness.
Yeah, just kill him. That's our thing. Kill him with kindness. We can do what we can. We know it's going to benefit them, the ones that are going to come, and we'll see you at lunchtime.
I think the belief in the program carries hugely, I think, as well.
Yeah,
like, we all believe in this program, and here we are talking to someone who got so much out of the program. And I was privileged to see your early journey, Emily, and being able to go into the NCS and see how you've grown and how you've evolved has been fantastic for me. I just want to own that. Very inspiring as well, and I hope that there'll be young people that are going to be listening to this episode and relate to some of the challenges, relate to some of the kind of stuff around self-talk, perhaps, and you've also presented a few solutions in there. So I think there's a lot to be grateful for in this podcast. So I want to thank you very much. I can't let you go without letting you plug your eBay store. We're going to have a plug. So I know you've got a little side business. I wondered if you wanted to mention that.
Yeah. So it's called Heart on Your Sleeve Boutique. It will be linked. It will be linked and it's on eBay. And I sell mostly like women's clothing, but I do sell some men's clothing.
Whoa. There's no women's or men's clothing, all right? There's just clothing. If I want to wear a dress, I'll wear a dress.
Okay. All right. Yeah, fair enough. I'm not going to stop anyone from wearing a dress.
Thank you.
Nice one. We'll include that link in the comments of the comments or the blurb. I don't know what you call that section. I'm still lost on that one. Any ideas?
I think we settled last time.
Description is a good word.
Description.
Or bio. Yeah, okay, that works. We'll include it in that for you.
And the blurb bio description.
Maybe bring some eyes to your website. It's the least that we can do for your time. Thank you very much today, Emily. And we'll wrap up now. Everyone cool, guys?
Yeah,
nice.
thank you, Emily.
All right, perhaps we've been here to listen. Thank you.